Hey, welcome to this new version of YAG, that's version 0.8.2.1, in which I've got two major updates to tell you about and a bit of extra content to show you. So let's start with the content. There's a new tray which contains a Japanese warrior that comes into multiple colors and helmet shapes variations, so you've got a bit of choice with that one. The first major update is that the way LUA mechanism is handled has been slightly modified in YAG. In fact, it's such a big update that I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video, because I just posted a dedicated tutorial video about that subject. So if you're interested in that, just check out the playlist, the tutorial playlist, and more specifically the video about LUA, and you'll get all the details. Very quickly, I'm just going to say that it's now possible to just choose a rule set by specifying its name, and all the details of the files and the path of the modules and stuff like that is now taken care of inside the module. So obviously the person who is preparing the rule set has to do the job. It's done in a configuration file, but it's much simpler for the other players who just have to unzip the rule set and then specify it here in this LUA panel. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details about that one. Just check out the dedicated video if you're interested. The second major update in this new version is the way that the textures are handled on the internet pawn. And I'm going to show you that using this one as an example. For example, the way it used to work before that new version was that when you apply a texture, an image on a pawn, the image is centered on the pawn and is following its scale. For example, if I double the length of that one, you can see that the texture is also doubled in length and becomes quite ugly. So the option I have added forces YAG to keep the texture the same size, so to speak. So now if I double the size of the pawn, then the texture is just simply doubled and remains much nicer. I can also, using this option, tile the texture horizontally and vertically. For example, if I want a 2x2 soldier, I can do it like so, and you can see that now I've got 4 soldier, and I can get any sort of configuration I want using both the scale of the pawn and the repetition of the texture. So here I can get a 3x2 very easily. It can be useful, for example, if you want one pawn to represent a whole army. For example, here we've got 1 pawn, so very few polygons, only 6, and it can represent a 25x25 army sorry, very easily if you're into that sort of game. You can also use negative numbers. For example, -1 here will put the texture upside down, which can be useful, for example, to say that by convention, if it's upside down, it's dead, or something like that. You can, of course, mirror it horizontally as well. Okay, so this option is quite easy to understand on that sort of textures and can be a bit useful, but where it really shines is on the decoration textures. For example, here on the wall, if I do not activate the option and increase the size of the wall, you can see that the bricks are becoming absolutely ugly. And if I activate the option, it's now taken care of quite nicely, and I can have any sort of wall with nice bricks here. So this can be used, for example, in such configuration where I'm going to increase the size of the walls, and you can see that I get a large chimney. I would certainly not want to be in this woman situation, but you can see that the bricks are very nice all the way up. So let's put the lady back in a normal room. This can be very useful to dress up dungeons. For example, here I have why can't I click it? I guess I'm not admin. Right. Here I have a very simple dungeon that I downloaded from the internet, and you can see that I have dressed it up with a few walls. So granted, I did quite a shitty job because I do not have the patience for that sort of stuff, but you can see that it's possible. And the interesting thing is that you can modify all the walls very easily, and they remain quite nice. For example, here I'm giving it a more maze castle vibe, and you can see that the bricks are still very beautiful. You can of course modify it as much as you want. For example, we can increase the thickness of the wall, as you can see here, and they remain correct. And we can go even further by, for example, changing the texture of the wall. So I'm going to pick up this texture, Control C here, select all the walls here, Control V the texture, and apply it. And my dungeon is now completely covered in red bricks. Okay, this can be used for many sort of maps. For example, here I have dressed up a small inn. Again, I did quite a lousy job because I'm not into that sort of thing, but with a bit of patience you can do quite nice thing. And then you can see, for example, that here if I did not apply the option, the wall will be really ugly and all different. So that's very nice. The best thing about dressing up a dungeon with some walls is that you can use lights very elegantly. For example, I'm going to put this lady here at the entrance of this inn, and what I'm going to do next is switching off all the lights, 0 and 0. So you can see that we have now complete darkness. But if I take the door away, I can now play with light very nicely. So let us see that how here. Okay. Alright, that's it for today. I'm going to end this video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if so, then I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and bye bye.